Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
I'm your glamorous host, David Strausser, and it's time for another rocket episode of Shark Bite Biz, your place to learn how to grow a business in complete chaos. We got an awesome transformational episode for y'all today. For me, I mean, this was like a brand new term, and the whole concept was just extremely informative. Kind of blown away about it. I've actually watched the interview 2 or 3 times already in full. It's awesome. I think you're going to love it. But first, make sure you check out deadhousecoffee.com. That is the official Shark Bite Biz coffee brand. Use code SHARK for 20% off. Now remember, Dead House Coffee, it is my brand, my business, and basically we started this with all the knowledge I gained from this show this past year. So, who is today's guest? So glad you asked. Renée Garcia. Renée is a lifelong entrepreneur, a certified reality transurfing instructor, and an alternatives space adventurer. Endorsed by, and I'll probably really mess this up, the Din Zealand, the author and creator of reality transurfing. Having ventured deeply into the metaphysical world of reality creation, she has transformed personal failure into success, poverty into abundance, sickness into healing, and a bleak worldview into one brimming with joy and magic. Renée has employed reality transurfing to discover fulfillment, true purpose in life, and connect with the highest version of herself. With a self-built practical methodology and magical wand in hand, see, we get along already. She is now empowering others around the world to do the same. Her motto is, knowledge without application is merely entertainment. With a rapidly growing following of supporting transurfers at her side, Renée brings to light the words of Mr. Zealand at home and worldwide. She has developed the only English language reality transurfing instructional program, which serves as the backbone for the International Transurfing Institute, which she founded in 2015. So let's go do some reality transurfing right over to Renée.
Personal growth.
Renée, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, guess what? You're Shark Bait.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm super excited to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. No podcast would be complete without a corny catch line, right? So we have a tradition on this show. Very first question out of the gate. It's a super softball question. It's basically, what's your background? What's your experience? Essentially, give our audience and our viewers on YouTube a sense of what makes Renée, Renée.
Oh, wow.
Loaded question to start off with.
That's a good opener.
Yeah.
Well, I'm leading a movement of people at the moment that are following a modality that's fairly new called reality transurfing. And the reason that I think people are entrusting me in this role and what I'm leading people to, the reason why I'm in this position, and I'm in this position rightfully, I think, is because I'm actually using the concepts that I'm bringing to the people real time and showing everyone exactly how you gain success with these concepts. And people are watching me do it. I'm using it to lead the movement. And it can be a little bit mesmerizing even to me. So the concepts are extremely powerful, and I believe in them wholeheartedly. They have completely transformed reality as I'm experiencing it, and the way that I conduct myself in all aspects of life, professionally, with my relationships, my self-esteem, pretty much every single facet of my reality. I have transformed with these concepts, and I'm very open. I'm very real about my experience. I'm not trying to overly refine myself or pretend to be someone I'm not. And I'm showing people that you can have what it is that you want in this world without necessarily changing anything about yourself, just implementing some new skills and following some sort of groundbreaking concepts and creating a new reality with your mind first, and then following it with action and some other some other things that formulate a new mode of operation, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, yeah. So the one thing that I caught there at the end would be, that you said action. So to me, when I hear that, that sounds like anything in life that I would do would be like, hey, look, I'm making a plan. I want to, I don't know, I want to do low carb. So instead of eating cheesecake every night from Outback, which is so good, by the way, I actually, instead of ordering that in Uber Eats right now, it's like, okay, I actually have to execute and actually open up the protein shakes and drink those instead. Is that the type of like action you're talking about, like with the execution method there?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, the faulty logic behind any modality
Hmm.
that implies changing your perception or shifting your perception of reality is that you can execute this in the moment and you should see change. And this is
Right.
what a lot of people try to do, is they want to change the current moment by doing something, but the current moment is just a product of past actions and thoughts. So if you want to have something for yourself, whatever that something is, losing 5 or 10 pounds,
Right.
then you have to start doing that. And I know this sounds like incredibly simple with this example, but a lot of people actually don't do this. You have to take the action now. You have to change your thinking now so you can experience that version of reality down the road. And this is where people
I
start.
want to, yeah, just jump in real quick there because what you said, there is a saying that I do on this show, and I'll give you a little quick background on it first. When I was growing up, whether it was my grandfather, my dad, employers, potential employers, they're like, dude, you got your heads in the clouds, man. You got to think about today, not, X years from now or down the road. And that's ultimately why I moved from small town Pennsylvania to Tijuana when I was 18 and lived down there for like 15 years working in San Diego, then migrated up to LA before full circle back in Philly now. And it to me it was like, no, that is the wrong concept how those people believe. And the saying that we use on this show all the time in a number of episodes is you really have to have one eye on the future. Okay, be that dreamer, think out where do you want to be, but then you need to have that eye on the present, because the choices, the decisions you make today, okay, if you're only looking in the now, if you're only looking short term, those decisions you make, yeah, they may end up helping you and putting you in a really good spot today, but are they going to help you get where you want to be in the future? It could set you on a totally another path. Now, that's not always bad. I mean, sometimes things come up in life. You can't always plan everything out and execute it perfectly, and it might even take you down another direction. But for the most part, I'd say the 80-20 rule with this is that if you have your long-term goals, you've got to look at things through those through those lens, to make sure that you're making the decisions that are going to support your growth today as well as tomorrow.
You
Do you
said
agree
it.
with that?
Yes, that is exactly what it's about. We just have, a lexicon assigned to exactly what you're saying. We have terminology and steps and that sort of thing. But it is really about the way that we like to define it is this: life is like a movie, and
Right.
you can choose the role that you want. Like, you're an actor in a movie, and you can choose the script, and you can choose the direction of the movie, right? I want to be a successful entrepreneur. Now, what happens in between here and that very end goal is like a film reel moving along, right? And what you need to work on in to achieve that end frame, the actualization of your goal, the completion of your goal, is you need to work on the current frame, because that current frame will lead you to the next frame, which will present to you even more options, opportunities, ideas for you to roll on, that will then move you to the next frame, and then to the next frame. And you don't need to know, and this is where most people go, oh, this is too overwhelming. I don't know how to do this. I can't see how this is going to work from point A to point B, and they give up. You don't necessarily need to see all that.
No, you don't.
You don't. All you need to work on is the present frame, doing whatever you can, because that next frame is just that next frame away. That's going to move over. And whatever direction you want to take yourself or your life or your professional trajectory, whatever, all you have to do is do that current present frame. And then when the next one moves over, then you do that. And it's sort of immutable law that you're going to get there. Now, you touched on an interesting point. Sometimes things, don't go totally as expected, but you still always have the ability to either seek the advantage of something presenting itself to you that maybe isn't necessarily in line with what you originally intended. And this could be even better for you in some way, right? So it's about you sort of setting the intention that I'm going to live a good life. And a lot of people ask me, Renee, what are your goals? And I'm like, you know what, to be honest, I do a lot of stuff. I have a lot of cool things going on, but really what my goal is, what that end frame is that I've enjoyed my life. It's packed full of experience, and I felt personal success through the frames, because
that's important though. Most people, I think, if you ask them, you don't need the picture perfect life. Yes, maybe for somebody out there, they're going to be like, no, for me to be happy, I need that picture perfect life. Well, I feel sorry for them, but I mean, there is someone out there. For most people, it's where you live a good life, where you feel fulfilled, that you've accomplished things in your life. And I think that's really what gives a lot of people the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, totally. And it is about doing what you can do to experience that state of being, rather than placing excessive value on something external to you that may not be in the cards, right? Like, I'm leading this movement right now, but if all of a sudden something were to happen and people became uninterested in reality transurfing, I know that there are a number of other things that I could focus my attention on and pump energy into, and see success with those things, and achieve that same state of being, because it's about the state of being. It's not about grabbing hold of the thing externally and you've got it by the throat, right? Because let's face it, it's all fleeting anyway. So if you get something by the throat, it's only a matter of time until you don't have it by the throat anymore. It's more about getting to a state of being where you can fill yourself up with those exact same sensations in whatever it is you do, and find success in whatever it is you do.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I think right now would be a good point to transition into getting a definition of exactly what is reality transurfing, because I've got to be honest, and I told you this, when I come into interviews, I try not to, so I can ask all the right questions, stating it up and ahead of time. This is probably the first interview I've had. And I mean, I've done over 100 interviews for the podcast so far. And I don't know what reality transfer fig really is myself. Can you explain to us, give us like a quick intro to the topic of this?
So it is a modality that began with a spectacular book written by a former Russian quantum physicist named Vadim Zeland. I'll show you quickly here. It's a little bit big.
Is
It's called
he former Russian? Like he's not
former
Russian
quantum
anymore? Or
physicist. Former
I know.
quantum physicist. He's still Russian.
I had to
So,
play on that.
so he wrote the book. This book now is actually a compilation of books. It's 5 books that he's written over the past 20 years. And these books are really presenting to us a whole new model in which we can view reality and function within reality, getting more of what we want. So without going into too much terminology that is exclusive to the book, it's a practical, and I know this is going to sound a little bit woo-woo, but it does work. And there's hundreds of thousands of people in the world doing this right now, and it absolutely does work. It is a practical take on parallel reality shifting. So for me, right,
Can you define real quick, what do you refer to with the parallel reality?
Okay, parallel reality is a different version of reality than what you are currently experiencing, from something slight to something massive. So right now, us having this conversation with each other, if I were to start thinking in my head, oh no, I don't have what it takes to be an expert in anything, and this guy's going to think I'm a fraud, or some sort of negative thoughts, and then maybe I started to get wrapped up in those thoughts, and I wasn't communicating with you properly. So at that point, my thoughts and my actions have shifted me over to a parallel reality where this interview does not go well. Right? But I can also go in the other direction. I can, maintain focus. I can think to myself, I am the person for this role. I can maintain the positive thought quality, continue to have a high quality conversation with you. And then you've tilted to another version of reality that's a little bit better than the one that you're currently experiencing, right? So we can do this we do this, not you can do this, but we are actually doing this right now. The version of reality that you're experiencing is a culmination of your thoughts and your actions. So if you want to experience something different, or something better, or something more, you improve. It's actually 3 things. It's your thoughts, it's your action, and it's your frequency. So for me, when I read Reality Transurfing, I was originally 6 years ago, I was really in a hole. I didn't know, I had become successful at my business, but my business was no longer satisfying to me. I lacked purpose. I lacked meaning. I was depressed. I had
Hmm.
anxiety. I didn't feel excited for my life. And I for my trajectory, I read Reality Transurfing and I set the intention that I was going to do something exceptional. And I decided I was going to become an expert in this knowledge. I was going to create a movement. I was going to bring it to the world. And sure enough, 5 years later, I'm here, right? So if you were to have looked at me, if you were to have known me 6 years ago when I
Hmm.
found this knowledge, you would think, well, wait a second, that version of her doesn't match up with what I'm seeing right now. So this shift
Hmm.
in both self and my perception is what has helped me to be successful in something really, really exceptional. And it just continues to evolve in a very,
Right.
very powerful way.
No, I find this all intriguing. I mean, as you're speaking, I have so many things running through my head. A couple thoughts I have now. This could be, it could be right on. I could be misunderstanding or wrong, but like one of them is like you were saying about the 6 year old version of you compared to where you are 6 years later today, is like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm half crazy and I'm doing a lot of deep thinking right now with the pandemic, just life, culture, everything that's going on in the world, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And one of the things I realized is that I mean, it really does seem with a lot of people that you look at them and it's like you talk about the past like it's like almost a different era, like it's like a whole nother lifetime essentially, like hey, that's a lifetime ago because of how you've changed or evolved, things like that. And I think if there was I don't watch much TV, but every now and then it's like I find a series that has been out for a couple seasons, for example, and it's like, okay, I'll just binge watch this and then I'm done for a couple months on TV again. And I just recently found Outlanders, and I think that really personified that for me because if you look at the story of James Fraser, I mean, we're talking about a 20-year period from season one to the most recent season. And he went from a Scottish rebel to being a laird to living in France to now being in the colonies in the US. And it's like, that is so different each piece, and that I don't know, that kind of, when you're talking, that's what triggers in my head. Is that somewhat right on the
Yes.
right line?
Yes, exactly. Like if I were to take a snapshot of my life, my reality now, like if you were able to gain some insights into my mindset, what my actions are like, how I feel, my vibration, like if you encountered me, you would walk away now
Hmm.
thinking, wow, that's a very inspiring, powerful woman, right?
Right.
Now, if I were to show you a snapshot from 6 years ago,
Right.
you would not match these two people up at all whatsoever. You would say,
Are you her sister?
you would, yeah, exactly. You would say, how in the world did that happen? Well, that happened via reality transurfing. I transurf, so the origin of the term reality transurfing is reality as we're currently
Mhm.
experiencing it. Tran, which is multiple, and surfing, which means, surfing, moving through. So you're
Right.
surfing the different variations of reality, but also you are surfing the different variations of yourself. We say
Right.
that there is an infinite number of versions of reality available to us. It's your thoughts, your actions, and your frequency that essentially tune the dial to which version you're going to experience. And it's the exact same with the self. So excellent example with the show Outlander. I freaking love that show, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm batting 100 right now because I got Cheesecake and Outlander into my podcast. So
there you go.
The other thing there is, as you're talking about this stuff, I said there was two. One of them was like that Outlander example. The second one that comes is, and again, I don't know if this is off or not, but it reminds me of stuff, like people were talking about different dimensions, multiverses, you can get into simulation theory stuff. You start getting into all that stuff, which actually seems like that stuff may be a little bit possible now, but I don't know. I'm kind of seeing a little bit of a correlation, or is that too much of a stretch with that?
Well, no, it's not a stretch, because what happens when you adopt this modality, the first thing that you sort of gain access to is something that we call the alternative space. And the alternative space is everything that exists outside of us, including us. It's the vast network of information and variations of reality that we have access to. It's where everything originates, where new technology, new ideas, all languages, every work of art that you could ever imagine. Everything is essentially pulled from the alternative space, which we all have access to. Just we don't understand. Most of us have not gained a sense of this ability to access information outside of us. The information, when somebody comes up with a new, there's some sort of new development in the medical world, this person didn't think this in their head. This actually came from somewhere external. And when you realize this, you realize that all the stuff, the things that you're talking about, to theories of conspiracy, to really crazy things that, you're like Bashar, the guy that channels the alien that talks about, I don't know if you know who that is, but it's really fascinating. But all of this, all of this stuff is just information, right? What reality transurfing is about is it's about narrowing your focus, where you fully understand that there's an infinite amount of information that's available to you, but what is going to actually help you in creating practically a reality that you really, really want for yourself. Lots of people get lost in a sea of information, and it's all interesting, but at the end of the day, does it actually help you? Does it actually do something for you and your reality? And reality transurfing is about like tuning in to exactly what you need to do in that moment to create that thing and achieve the success that you want to achieve. I get invited to a lot of podcasts. A lot of them are business podcasts and a podcast for entrepreneurs and all this stuff. And reality transurfing actually isn't about any of this at all, but it can definitely speak to it, just as it can speak to how to improve relationships, how to improve self-esteem, all the different aspects of life. You're approaching them in the exact same way. You're deciding what it is you want to experience, and then you are doing you're formulating your thought patterns and actions to line up with that version of reality. And sometimes it happens like that. And if you see in the community, there's lots of people that are having amazing results, and they can do things very, very quickly and to their amazement.
And that's where I think, like you were just saying, that you get on a lot of business podcasts, stuff like that, but that's where I think some of these things, maybe it doesn't necessarily, well, it kind of does, I think, correlate to business growth mindset, because I mean, if you have the goals, I'm sure you can apply that to the business self, but it's with the personal growth aspect mostly of an individual where I see it useful. And to me, this stuff, it may not be for everybody's thing, but it
Not for
seems
everyone.
equally as qualified, just as something like NLP and how you would apply that to one's life in order to, do things better. I mean, is that a fair
Absolutely.
assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just got back from a business trip in Egypt. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's
I
so
know.
cool. You get to go to Egypt on business? Like, how wild." And I'm
Yeah.
going
In
back in
fact,
a
I just
month.
told you that before the call.
Yeah, exactly, and I've heard it from a lot of people, and I'm going back in a month, and I'm going there as an expert in something. I'll be giving a
Mhm.
number of seminars, and I'll be getting paid for it, right? I'm successful in this, but more so, this success, the
Mhm.
paychecks, whatever prestige I'm extracting from these experiences, this is all just a product of a state of being that I've chosen for myself, right? I
Right.
want to feel like I am living my life. I want to
Mhm.
feel like I have purpose in this world. I like the sensation of helping people connect with knowledge that has helped me transform my life.
And
So
and probably
these
that you're in control of it as well too, that you're the one that's doing it, that you're not having somebody else that you're essentially a subordinate to, and that they're pulling the strings in your life.
exactly. I'm the creator. I'm the creator of my layer of reality, right? And
Mhm.
it's in doing just that that results in the paychecks, that results
Right.
in success, that results in the notoriety, whatever it is. It's not a, necessarily about that stuff,
Mhm.
but when you really utilize these concepts wholeheartedly and you live by them, all of those things just magnetically come at you, right? Same
Mhm.
with romantic relationships, friendships, adventure, things happening that are just nice as a human being,
Right.
like personal and professional
Mhm.
success.
Yeah. So we do have to start getting wrapped up shortly, but I have a couple questions that if we could try to kind of bang through them a little quickly, that would be awesome so we can get as
Let's
much in
go.
as possible.
Yes.
First one is, on this awesome info that you sent me over, I do have one question of something that there's just this one thing that's just jumping out at me, and that is, what is quantum jumping exactly? Can you explain that?
Well, it's exactly what I was just describing. It
Right.
is it is shifting yourself to another variation of reality
Hmm.
in the direction of something. I mean, it can be worse, it can be better, but
Right.
it's shifting yourself to a different variation of reality and having a new experience, but doing it with mindfulness, right?
Hmm.
Intending to do that. Like, I want to become an expert in a thing. This is a version of reality I want to experience, and then taking the steps to move yourself over to that version of reality effectively and efficiently.
So, what would be? I mean, we're talking about it, and obviously, I mean, this is a simplified form of everything to try to get everybody to really understand it all. But I mean, what is the first steps in this? Like, how do you really get started? I've got to say, I'm sorry, but this is fascinating to me. Just the concept, like I said, I'm lost in deep thought lately, and this type of stuff. I mean, it really just blows my mind. I am really loving what I'm hearing from you, the concepts, and it's making my head spin. I got a ton of notes from talking with you, but how can you take the first steps? Like, how can they identify or decide, and what should they do? Can you give us some guidance?
Yes. So the first step in creating a new reality for yourself is acknowledging that
Mm-hmm.
this version of reality does in fact exist. So this is kind of like the lost key that a lot of people haven't had access to, right? They just think that, oh, what I've got is what I've got and I might as well make do with it. But if you can envision something higher and better for yourself starting today, then all of a sudden you've added that as a possible version of reality to experience. So start to think about what it is you want exactly, not what it is that society tells you is cool or, successful or whatever, but what it is you want exactly. For me, this
Mm-hmm.
was helping people connect with this knowledge. That's what I wanted. So could I envision that version of reality? Does that version of reality exist? Yeah, it absolutely does exist.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am picking the fruit from that tree. You know what I'm saying? Like now I've got it
Right.
going on and I actually took it. But never would have happened unless I would have acknowledged first off that I believe that version of reality to in fact exist.
Oh, that's perfect. That's I think that's pretty key to be able to start right there. Good point. Obviously, the book that you're working with is probably something that can give a little bit more insight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the cool thing about what it is that I'm doing is a lot of people don't have the time to read an 800
Right.
page book. It's a big beast of a book. It's amazing and I highly recommend it to anybody. But we've got a ton of resources that you can connect to this knowledge via, watching things and listening to things. We've got a course, we've got 600 videos. I've created 600 videos on YouTube of me talking about
Wow.
how to practically apply the concepts to your life.
Hmm.
We've got a community, a Facebook group. There's all sorts of resources where you can sort of choose how you want to take in the knowledge. Audio, video, we've got an audio book, full audio book on YouTube, talking with other people about it, taking the course if you want to dive right in. There is a ton of different ways that you can gain this knowledge. It's not just via reading the book.
Okay, that's great. So, what would be the best way though to reach out to you?
Well, I can be contacted via the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group. It's a very, very active and thriving community, and I'm on there every day, laying it down and telling people what to do and how to create their own realities. And I engage with people directly, so I'm always there. I have a course on Teachable, which is highly recommended. I'm elated at how many people have gained such benefit from this course. It's called Reality 2.0. Instagram, reality_transurfing. YouTube, Transurfing
Yeah.
TV. You get to see me in action talking about these concepts and being very candid and uncensored, and people
Ooh.
people have typically enjoyed this version of self-development as opposed to the typical sort of dry versions of self-development.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lots of ways to connect with me. It's about diving into the community and figuring out what you resonate with, how you like to take in your knowledge.
That is awesome. And for everybody out there watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you are, I will absolutely make sure we have some of Renee's links down in the description. Hey, Renee, this has been fun. It's been enlightening. Like I said, I got a ton of notes and I barely ever take notes during an interview, but it's been some really good insight.
Well, I really appreciate you having me, David. And I want to say that if your curiosity is piqued, What
Yep.
we say in the transurfing community is that you don't find this knowledge. This knowledge finds you. So I think this knowledge just found you, David.
Oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did. My interest is piqued, and definitely, let me do some more research, and maybe we'll do a round 2 later in the year.
Sounds good. I'm definitely down for that.
Awesome. Thank you again, Renee, and have a wonderful trip when you go back to Egypt again.
Thank you so much, David.
Yep.
Bye.
Cheers. Awesome chat with Renee, right? I loved it. Really awesome. But first, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor. Please like the episode. But more importantly, subscribe. We just passed 3,000 subscribers, and I created a thank you image, posted it everywhere, and amazingly, we went from 3,000 to like 3,200 like within a few days. It's been amazing how fast that has happened, and I hope it's just signs of good things to come. If we can keep gaining 20, 30, 40, 50 subscribers a day, that would be amazing, because we do have some awesome guests on here. This whole podcast is all about helping you get to the next level, whether it's personal life, whether it is professional life, whether it is business growth. That's what this podcast is about. And by liking, commenting, subscribing, you're helping us help you. Now, if you really want to do us a solid, let's get some reality transurfing, and let's get Renee Garcia and Shark Bite Biz. Let's get everybody trending social media right now. Share this episode out to your network. Tell them you found it insightful, and tell them to definitely subscribe to the show. Now let's get back to our reality transurfer, Renee. First, again, Renee is amazing. Her transformation, career, it's really inspiring. It's a great story. And it really just shows you how much you can actually control, and how much of your life is actually just mental roadblocks that you artificially place yourself that really just prevent success. It's not just what you think about, it's about how you think about it. Don't worry about what you can't control. Worry about what you can control and grab it. And then, you know what? Go out and own it. And that's a huge mind shift strategy change from what most people do. It's not something that happens overnight. It will take you a little bit of time to start not just thinking that way, but really believing and living that way. But do it little by little, and you're going to notice how much of your life changes because of that. Basically, you're able to control your destiny as long as you're able to keep your emotions out of the decision-making process and keep all that goofy stuff, keep it in check. So on this show, I've said it a billion times, okay? The one eye on the present, one eye on the future phrase. You have to dream your dreams and have the goals, but use the decisions that you make today to take you to that dream. I really love the analogy that Renee said about life is like a movie, and you could choose what role you want to play. Just like I say, keep your eye in the present. Renee's there saying, think of your life in terms of that movie. And we're basically at a slide in that film ream, okay? So remember, you don't need to see exactly how you get from point A to point B. You just kind of work on that current frame of life, and then just work towards the next frame, and then the next frame, and then the next frame. Keeping point B in mind, and you'll eventually end up getting there, or pretty darn close, okay? If you're working hard and you're like, hey, my goal is to be a billionaire, maybe you won't become a billionaire, but maybe you become a multi-millionaire and you've reached 80% of your goal, and that's still pretty gnarly. So you have to kind of think in terms of that, I think, as well, too. Lastly, remember, again, just to reinforce what we were just saying, you are in control. As bad as a deck of cards that you may have gotten, as Renee says, you are the creator of your layer of reality. It's not easy. It's hard, but you are in control. Live by these concepts that Renee explains, and all these things magnetically will come to you. Think about it. Positive energy draws positive energy. When you meet somebody, partner, spouse, whatever, why do you think that you find somebody? I mean, you could be polar opposites, but yet you work together as a good team for the most part. It's because you draw that type of energy, that type of person, those type of people around you. So change. It all starts with the mindset. Change the mindset. Open up your abilities for reality transurfing. And hey, make sure you go out, check all Renee's stuff. Links are going to be down in the description. And remember, if you want to be a guest on this show, shoot us an email. We're booking a couple months out, but I promise we will get everybody on eventually. David at sharkbitebiz.com. One more plug for my brand smacking new coffee brand called Dead House Coffee. Get back to life. Okay, go to www.deadhousecoffee.com. Use code SHARK. You're going to get 20% off. Okay, this is freshly roasted coffee, ground, whole beans. We have a couple K-cups there if you're a Kurg fan. And I think we even have espresso. It goes all types of variety. I think there's like 30 or 40 different varieties of coffee that we got there. Go buy something, directly support this channel, help us grow, share the video, and remember, I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.